on how much or what the percentages of raises should be, or maybe they should be frozen at this time of economic crisis that we have. In other words, I would see increased role of the state since they impose local mandates on municipalities, that they also take more responsibility for dealing with contracts. And we have situation where every school district is negotiating its own contract with the teachers and so on. But I was a little bit confused when Gordon was speaking, because he said that he negotiates municipality contracts in Inglewood. I thought you were an assemblyman. So, yes.
Was there a rhetoric question? Yes, I'm on the council in Inglewood, and my term ends in December of this year.
Okay, next question. Would you support tightening and strengthening the statewide restrictions on pay-to-play in order to make the regulations truly effective? Would you support leaving the statewide restrictions as they presently exist? And why? Yeah.
Glad you brought up pay-to-play and ethics legislation. I did bring copies of the bills that Gordon and I both are prime sponsors of for good government. The governor just signed last week the Party Democracy Act. And what that does is constitute laws and bylaws and transparency in county committee elections, which is the insider game in politics. A lot of people, if you're not part of your county committee, you may not know the inside game. But this is certainly to lessen the strength of party bosses. We have voted on bills of transparency in government. We have voted on bills that make complete voting records available online. And of course, this governor, by executive order, has done away with pay-to-play on the executive level. We have passed, for the first time, banning dual job office holding. Yes, there are some people, as my colleagues, that are still holding office, but down the road, after he finishes his term, and others, when they finish their term, that they have been elected to and responsible to that position when they were elected at that time, after they serve out their term, they are no longer, you will see, they are no longer running for another office. So I will say that after this ban is passed, down the road, you will not see dual job office holders. I think we've come a long way on good government legislation that Gordon and I are both are prime sponsors of many pieces of legislation that have been signed into law.
Anyone else?
well, if everything is so well, then what are we doing here? And why are the newspapers writing on front pages every day about corruption and pay-to-play, especially in Bergen County? You just have the trial going on with the former chairman of the Democratic Party in Bergen County, Mr. Ferriero, and his chief counsel, who basically raided Bergenfield, where I reside, for money. And they did it openly. With support of local democratic organizations. And I'm sure that Valerie knows a lot about inside game because she's been inside for a long time. So I don't buy it that everything has been reformed and legislated by Governor Corzine, because the other day the Record had an article that he legislates with one hand and with the other he contributes to the people that he basically legislated against. And I think that we need to look dramatically into the situation, and again, common sense pledge declares zero tolerance for abuse of power and the culture of corruption by stiffening penalties for violators of the public trust. So it means that whatever you approved in the legislation is not working.
I agree with the zero tolerance for public abuse of power. And a lot of people don't call us the Garden State anymore. They call us the Soprano State, because almost every day there's articles about pay-to-play, the Ferrario trial, Corzine loaning or giving money for his defense, the previous administration with McGreevey. It's just constantly, almost the shame of the country, the amount of corruption that goes in, which contributes to the fiscal waste and spending. So in signing the pact with the citizensforassembly.org, I would definitely work 100% on eliminating corruption and zero tolerance for abuse of power.
Mr. Johnson?
We have laws in place. Mr. Ferriero chose to go beyond the boundaries of legality. Mr. Ferriero was charged with a crime and is now on trial. Mr. Ori, again, he chose to go beyond what's legal, what's considered to be legal. He has taken a deal, apparently, and he's being tried. The criminal justice system is working. If you choose to break the law while you hold public office, or if you're an operator behind the scenes, you're going to get caught and you're going to be tried, whether it's at the federal level or the state level. The system is working. People are being caught. Now, these people decide to abuse their power and disregard the law. Look where they are now. That's my answer.
We touched briefly on state aid to small municipalities being reduced. This person lives in Rochelle Park. So Rochelle Park has one of the most efficiently managed towns in District 37. That's an opinion statement. I'm not saying an opinion statement. If towns can prove their management of funds are sound and efficient, do you still support the governor's decision to reduce state aid? And I'll start with the Democrats because, go ahead.
Sure. If I may take one quick second about the corruption, and then I'll go to the question. If I may just take that liberty. Corruption is on both sides of the aisle. I don't want anyone to be feeling that it's just one party. They're both parties. And we are trying, again, to promote good government legislation. And the party chairman that is on trial, we don't need to mention his name, but that is one of the reasons why Gordon and I have been fighting our party bosses, this particular party boss, and created actually a new party in Bergen County of the real Bergen Democrats. And to the question of state aid, the governor has imposed caps on spending on local municipalities to curb property taxes. Again, it goes to property tax relief and reform. We need to place caps on municipalities, and I do believe that if they are within their caps, there is an incentive to have increased state aid. And Rochelle Park, it's funny, that question came up the other day. They seem to be doing very well. They want to maintain their home rule, and again, no one is forcing or mandating any changes in that, in the face of a municipality like Rochelle Park.
Anyone else?
The problem is that the state aid was cut to Rochelle Park, $250 million, which is a big hit for a small town like this, as opposed to other towns which are far more less efficient, and they have waste and abuse, and they receive millions of dollars in state aid. The problem is that there is no formula for state aid that could be applied objectively based on criteria that you can apply for either saving or efficiency and so on. The decisions are made through the governor on an ad hoc base, and in large part through the influence of senators or assemblymen from certain districts or towns. So you can say that the state aid system that we have now is basically feeding the pay-to-play or party machine, so to speak, in certain parts of our state. And that hurts other municipalities that are run on a non-political basis in an efficient way.
state aid to the municipalities seems almost reversed and biased, where the more efficient towns get the least money and the least efficient, more wasteful, more corrupt towns get the most money. Again, we should have transparency on the state level and a systematic way of how the state aid to municipalities gets funded, so people could look at it and have it one systematic way for all the municipalities. Also, I would think the top efficient towns should get awards or recognition, and have the other towns voluntarily at first model their systems and infrastructure so that they could also reduce their waste and spending and become a more efficient town.
Mr. Johnson? Would you like
First, I'd
to
like to
say
say
something?
that there is a formula that is used. It's complicated, and I wouldn't even try to explain it, but it's based on the zip code, based on the income, the average income of the borough, based on their budget, and also takes into account their debt. So, what my adversaries are saying, yes, if you are more efficient, it appears that you are punished for being efficient, but that is not actually the case in this particular instance. We are talking about a state budget that went from 32 billion to 28 billion, so cuts had to be made all across the board. Yet we still saved money for education and young people and children who needed access to health care, who couldn't afford it. But as part of that $4 billion cut, that was part of the cuts that were made.
We don't have any further audience-submitted written questions, so I'm going to pose one and ask each candidate that if they were elected in November, what would be their top priority when they got to the Assembly in January? What issue, what cause is first in their hearts, and then tell us why. Valerie?
Well, I would like to continue my advocacy for children, families, and seniors. I have been working on a string of bills, package of bills for autism and other developmental disability needs. There's a post-21 task force that the findings are now being set forth before the legislature. And I know that I just hired someone actually that ran against me in the primary, Chris Gagliardi. He was born with infantile autism, and he's doing quite well, and especially since he got 800 votes in the primary, so I decided to hire him as part of my team. And I would want him to be my outreach and liaison to know firsthand what we can really do for post-21 children with autism and other needs. And I think we need to prioritize our dollars and our spending. And I think I would like to work on those needs for those people that don't have voices. And I want to continue to be a voice for children, families, and seniors, and those with special needs.
Mr. Bellin?
Well, if I'm given the first 100 days, as we do with the presidency, my top priorities would be to permanently cap the sales tax and the property tax, because we currently have the highest in the nation on both of these taxes. Then we would start a task force to see how we could eliminate waste in the state government. And then my pet project is tort reform. It appears that our health insurance and auto insurance are also amongst the highest in the nation because of ultra-high tort awards. And also, I would continue to work with the entire list in the Common Sense Pledge, and especially no more borrowing without voter approval.
Mr. Siemaszkiewicz?
Well, the top issue certainly is the property tax reform. And contrary to what Assemblywoman Huttle said, nothing was reformed. This has to be tied with education, funding formula, and lowering income taxes. So you have three big segments that we would have to deal with in a piecemeal manner, and so that one reform affects the other. And if we change the school funding formula, this automatically lowers property taxes, as everybody knows. So these would be the very complex issues that I would start dealing with in when I will be in Trenton.
Mr. Johnson.
The most important issue for us in this state of property taxes and find a way to get a comprehensive plan together to reduce the plan or formula that's going to give our residents, our homeowners, a break. And that would be, it probably have to include the way we fund our education in the state. Public safety, high priority, and being a former police officer, sheriff, and being in the military, and also realizing that it's our responsibility as elected officials to ensure that the people are safe in their homes and where they work. And of course, access to education as it continues. Early childhood education is very important, I feel, for those who can't afford it and need it, and access to health care for those who can't afford it. And these last, education and health care, was a priority and is a priority. It was a priority in the last budget that was passed by the governor, and is a priority today for the future. So those four items are of utmost importance, and I will dedicate myself to addressing those issues.
Thank you. A last question before we go to concluding statements. 1 minute each. If there's one issue we did not touch on tonight yet, what would you like to talk about in 1 minute?
I would like to talk about women's health care. Does not only pertain to women. I think that it's a family issue. I would like to talk about making sure that the mandates that we fought so hard for the last 15 years stay in place in our insurance companies. I know that there's a topic of discussion now in the governor's debate about mammograms and other pre-screening that will save lives. We know this. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. February now is being designated as Ovarian Cancer Month. I think the more women are informed and know to get their proper screening, they will be. We will continue to have survivors of these deadly diseases. So I think healthcare and women's issues and access to healthcare and making sure the mandates stay in place is a very important issue that was not discussed.
Mr. Johnson.
This is anything?
Anything.
Okay.
An issue.
An issue. Oh, I was gonna thank my I can't pronounce
Later.
Woj.
You're not concluding yet.
Well, I'll do this now. I want to thank Woj and Bergen